A lot of people have been giving their thoughts on Battlefield 6 and trying to find anything and everything that is wrong with it. In a way, I'm glad to see people be pessimistic about these games instead of outright defending every decision. But some people can go overboard or ask for things that are just not at all what a standard Battlefield experience should be. Honestly, it's a little tough for me to make this video. That's mainly because there are so many videos talking about Battlefield 6 that there's not really anything I can say different. So if you're looking for another video to confirm your thoughts on Battlefield 6, or if you're curious to know what I think about it, then stick around. Going right into it, the gunplay of this game is really nice on mouse and keyboard. The recoil system is not exactly super tight or consistent like I would want from a game like Modern Warfare 19 or Warzone 1, but it's the second best option. While these weapons do have unique recoil patterns, they also have bullet spread, meaning your shots are going to deviate the longer you hold down the trigger. There are ways to combat this, such as adding certain attachments or crouching or going prone. Regardless, it is still there. There has been some discussion about the game's time to kill, TTK, being inconsistent, and I feel the bullet spread is more the root cause for that. For sure, there may be some hit reg or server connection issues that's causing some of this as well. The good news on that front is these are 60 tick rate servers. They should feel far more consistent and less delayed than the 20 tick servers Activision is still running with on Call of Duty. Now, netcode is more sophisticated than simply having a higher tick rate server, but it does help. When aiming down sights, these optics are very clean, and the visual recoil is kept to a minimum, allowing you to still feel the impact of the weapon, but also being able to see what you're aiming at and stay on target. And while the sight picture while aiming down sight is very clean, I would like to see some additional reticles to choose from. Personally, I lean towards yellow and green reticles over red. There is a forced depth of field applied when aiming down sight that blurs your peripheral vision. So far, there's no option in the game's menu to turn this off, outside of editing a config file, which I'm not going to do. I'm sure this forced depth of field is a temporary thing for the beta, as many other smaller games will allow you to turn this off. It does bug me enough to mention it, and I do hope we see that option sooner rather than later. As far as weapon metas are concerned, the only thing to worry about right now at the moment are the shotguns. This has been a complaint since the creator event, and the build we have access to right now is pretty much the same build. While there are some inconsistencies with the shotgun, it does one-shot headshot within 15 meters from my testing in the shooting range. Provided the weapon stats in the firing range are the same as in-game, this can be a very annoying thing to fight against. Fortunately for Battlefield and these maps, which we'll get to later, there is usually plenty of space and line of sights where you can deal with enemies using shotguns or other close combat weapons without being at a severe disadvantage. And if you're enjoying the discussion so far, please give this video a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I'm not going to say too much about the vehicles in this game. I know there are some problems trying to drive tanks or pilot helicopters and jets. Some people are even asking for a full overhaul of the flying controls. I personally have never been great at flying in just about any game other than Rocket League. If I'm not able to keep a jet in the air for longer than 30 seconds in Battlefield 4, I'm not going to be of use trying to make them work in Battlefield 6. If you enjoy vehicle combat, right now you may be disappointed with how they work. We'll have to sit and wait to see what the devs say, what adjustments they make, and if the changes they make are actually good and solves the problem. Now going into the maps of this game, it's a mixed bag. While we're only getting access to a few of these maps, the beta is loaded with close combat 2-lane style maps. Layout wise, they feel like old school maps. Yes, you can blow up the sides of buildings, but in what I've played, there are very few areas where you can blow open a wall to connect to a different route. In Cairo, for example, you have a line of buildings that are there to split the map, and not all of the buildings are accessible. They don't need to be, but it does feel strange to have several buildings in the middle of the map be there for field dressing and as a barrier rather than as a playable area, which is something we would normally see in Battlefield 4 and in BattleBit Remastered. There is a severe lack of verticality in these maps as well. I don't think there's a single rooftop you can get to in Cairo or Liberation Peak. The developers have been saying there are larger maps to come, and we'll be seeing at least one of them in the second beta next week. However, I have to go with what I have access to right now, and while these condensed maps are a lot more fun than 2042's launch maps, they lean a little too much towards meat grinder maps with very little reprieve. While it is a beta, and we don't know how the other maps will play out, I have to be very cautious about this. If their map design is to keep the map layouts very two-dimensional, this can end up being a very rough battlefield for long-range combat and sniping. For better or worse, Battlefield 6 is very much the kind of Battlefield experience I remember having back in Battlefield 4. Being able to pull off a 4 or 5 kill streak, hitting satisfying headshots with your sniper, paired with the negatives of players not reviving, not playing objective, and others who spam grenades and rocket launchers at anyone or anything. While I understand grenade launchers are there to combat infantry, it is still very annoying to deal with. Fortunately, once we have access to portal mode when the game launches, we could see some infantry-only modes that blacklist launchers and focus purely on gunplay and less oppressive gadgets. While there is a mixed response as to whether or not Battlefield 6 has skill-based matchmaking, I can say it is very loose compared to Call of Duty. If you are struggling to get kills or do well in Battlefield 6, but you play well in other games, you may want to switch up your approach. Whether that's playing slower, changing your routes, or working on burst firing instead of mag dumping, you will find success in this game. You may not be able to single-handedly change the outcome of a match, but you can definitely be a thorn in the enemy's side the entire game. I can only hope that the current matchmaking Battlefield 6 has stays mostly this way after launch. These games are still challenging, but not to the point of being unfun. Blowouts can still happen, I've been on the wrong end of them, and they are never fun. But as I've seen in COD, blowouts are still going to happen regardless what kind of matchmaking system is implemented. With that in mind, I'd much rather have the more casual feeling where every match feels different than being stuck in SBMM hell just because I have a positive KD ratio. I want to finish off with a few nitpicks of my own. These aren't necessarily important, but I would love to see some small changes to them. First, the minimap location is in the bottom left of the screen. I know it has been done in previous Battlefield games, but it's been so long since I've played them that this feels foreign to me. Right now, in the beta, the only option we have is to adjust the opacity of the HUD and access some colorblind settings. I really hope we see a few more options, and if we can't choose exactly where the HUD elements are, at least give us a few presets to choose from. Next up, not being able to swap classes in the firing range. Battlefield 6 has moved on from a 4 attachment system to a points-based system where you have 100 points to use to build out your weapon. Right now, there doesn't seem to be a way to save your builds or swap to a different class in the firing range. This is a small detail, but I would like to do everything from the range. Instead of having to back out, go to my loadouts, pick a class, and jump back into the range. This can also affect which weapon you have selected when you jump into a match, which means you can end up spawning in with the wrong weapon. I'm glad we have a firing range to begin with to test things out, but it does need to be refined just a little bit. Outside of that, there are some smaller things like depth of field when aiming down sights is very annoying to me personally. I would love to have an option in-game to turn that off. While you can see your system performance in-game, I would like to have a cleaner visual of my frame rate. I know this can be done differently either from NVIDIA Overlay or other options. There are workarounds for that, but I would like to clearly see this from the game itself. A lot of people have been giving their thoughts on Battlefield 6 and trying to find anything and everything that is wrong with it. In a way, I'm glad to see people be pessimistic about these games, instead of outright defending every decision. But some people can go overboard or ask for things that are just not at all what a standard Battlefield experience should be. Right now, the only thing not Battlefield about this game are the smaller map designs we have access to in this beta, as well as the vehicles being a little too easy for infantry to deal with and the flying could use some work. Again, we should be seeing larger maps and some fixes in the next beta, and I really hope we do. Either way, as an infantry player, this is a very solid entry to the Battlefield franchise, but it's not flawless. Let me know what your experience has been with Battlefield 6 so far, and what you like and hate the most about it. Thank you for getting this far in the video. Please leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps me out. Until then, I am Mr. Rain, and I'll see you next time.